Hello again! As promised, after examining Spanish and Portuguese efforts at exploration and colonization, I'm taking a look at their Dutch rivals, who first had to gain independence and then catch up in the race for overseas territories. This they did with excellent results, as we will see shortly. When Columbus set sail for India in 1492, the 17 provinces were still part of the Holy Roman Empire. They joined Spain when Charles V became King of Castile and Aragon in 1516. His son, Philip II, inherited these lands, but tension was already growing as the Spanish Inquisition tried to eradicate the new Protestant movements along with their followers. Lutherans, Calvinists, and Anabaptists looked to their Catholic overlords with hostility. This led to rebellion in 1566. In the first few years, the Dutch rebels, led by William of Orange, suffered many defeats, but they increasingly controlled nearby waters and gained support on land when the Spanish raised taxes in order to fund their occupation. The northern provinces signed the Union of Utrecht in 1579, while their southern neighbors, whose population was still mainly Catholic, signed the Union of Arras. This division would remain in subsequent decades, with the Spanish successfully re-establishing their rule in the south, while the north attempted to become and remain independent with English support. Eventually, foreign influence would diminish with the resurgence of the Dutch Republic in the 1580s, which relied on several waves of immigration from the central provinces. Amsterdam became a major port, while Antwerp's role diminished. The Dutch army was reformed, several major cities were retaken, as the Spanish were busy interfering in the French Civil War and could not always pay their troops on time. In the 1590s, Dutch ships began to trade with Brazil, West Africa, and Indonesia, with direct attacks on Portuguese possessions. This served a military purpose, as Portugal and Spain were in a personal union, so Spanish resources had to be diverted away from the Dutch provinces to protect the Portuguese colonies. At the same time, these were the first steps to establishing a Dutch colonial empire, which in many places replaced Portuguese presence. In 1609, after one last campaign, a treaty was finally signed with Spain, as both sides suffered from the financial strain of the war. The truce lasted only 12 years, because the Dutch interfered in the 30 Years' War and once again fought the Spanish. In the 1620s, an economic war erupted between these two powers, with the Spanish laying siege to several cities and trying to ruin Dutch trade with embargoes and a naval blockade, although this hurt both economies. Defeats were followed by new victories, and in 1628 a Spanish treasure fleet was also captured, which helped the war effort, while Spain overextended itself by joining another war. In the 1630s, French interference provided great help, while the Dutch West Indies Company and East Indies Company provided the money that was needed for the war. Brazil, Guinea, Angola, and several Caribbean islands were taken, further expanding this young empire. In 1639, a Dutch naval victory signaled that they now had the strongest navy in the world, while Spain was in retreat. In the east, many trading posts were created, from India to Thailand, while Jakarta soon became the capital of the Dutch East Indies. Ceylon and Malacca were taken, but the Philippines could not be conquered, while Goa and Macau both remained in Portuguese hands. When Japan expulsed all Catholics, the Dutch were able to take one trading post, but Mauritius was colonized in the meantime, along with Taiwan, that had to be taken from the Portuguese and the Spanish in 2 consecutive campaigns. By the time peace was finally achieved in Europe in 1648, the Dutch Republic already possessed a large colonial empire, so the recognition of Dutch independence by the Spanish was just a formality. The Netherlands, just like Switzerland, officially broke away from the Holy Roman Empire. Their overseas conquests were recognized, except for Brazil, which was retaken by the Portuguese, while France and Spain remained at war until 1659. The southern provinces remained in Spanish hands, They corresponded approximately with present-day Belgium and Luxembourg. The Dutch were now a major European power, while Spain lost its great power status. Thanks to its recent conquests, the Dutch Empire largely controlled both the sugar and slave trades, but their Caribbean islands provided salt as well. The Company of New Netherland had already been expanding in North America, establishing forts at Albany and New Amsterdam, which later would become New York. A nearby Swedish colony was also taken in 1655, but creating a monopoly in fur trade proved to be impossible due to smuggling. At the same time, the Cape of Good Hope became an important station for ships traveling between Europe and Asia. Its population continued to grow, and Dutch settlers ventured further inland, sparking conflicts with local peoples. Rivalry with England led to war in 1651, which eroded Dutch naval power and signaled the emergence of English dominance. Taiwan was lost to the Chinese. A second war with the English resulted in the loss of New Netherland, although the English settlement in Suriname was taken. A third war was then fought in the 1670s. The North American coast was permanently lost, but in 1688, in the year of the Glorious Revolution, William of Orange ascended to the throne of England, Scotland, and Ireland, ending 80 years of rivalry. The Dutch colonial empire would remain relatively the same until the Napoleonic Wars. While their golden age was brief, the Netherlands continued to thrive economically, relying on its strong navy and existing maritime trade routes. They managed to supplant the Portuguese and the Spanish, the two declining empires, and continued to slowly expand in Indonesia. Several of their expeditions, like the one to Chile, Brazil, Cayenne, the Philippines, and India, failed, but this did not mean the end of such ambitions. The Dutch continued to look for profitable ventures, giving up those colonies whose maintenance was not economically viable. They also explored the Australian and Tasmanian coast, although these lands were never settled. Their claim was only nominal. In the 17th and 18th centuries, many other regions were targeted, mainly for trading purposes. Outposts were established in China, India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Iran, Oman, Yemen, Cambodia, and Vietnam, along with Malaysia, but many of these showed disappointing results, and local rulers were not always keen on working with Europeans. Wherever they encountered stiff resistance and/or financial losses, the Dutch would pack up and leave, looking for other alternatives. Ultimately, Indonesia became their largest colony, along with some Caribbean islands, while other possessions, like South Africa and Ceylon, were lost to the British. The Dutch experiment was certainly a successful one. It showed how a relatively small and insignificant European country could become a major power, relying on trade-friendly policies and decentralized rule. Dutch power would diminish in the Napoleonic Wars, but their colonial empire continued to exist until the modern era. This concludes my brief summary on Dutch exploration and colonization, but I will also look at French and English efforts to make sure I provide a somewhat complete picture. See you in the next episode.